Welcome to Biggest Dick Moves in 40k history. My name is Precognition, and today we're looking at the Castigation and Revenge of Herbo Proudfoot. I chose this one because it stands out for being a combination of two dick moves, and both are displays of sheer petty cruelty. Enjoy! Aboard the Imperial frigate The Sunstriker, the recently promoted Master of Service, a young man named Karis, is riding high. As Master of Service, it's his duty to make sure the crew and officers of the ship are fed, and fed as well as can be achieved in the nightmare future of the 41st millennium. Today, the Sunstriker has scored a significant victory over the vile Ailadari, Imperial boarders braving the interior of the Xenos ship to secure an artifact of immeasurable value. As such, the Sunstriker's captain, Augustus Ludovico, is hosting a feast for his senior staff and members of the lesser officer class that had distinguished themselves in the battle. This is a high-pressure situation for Karis. He'd been instructed to ensure the best cook on ship had handled the captain's table. Fortunately for Karis, he had just the man for the job. Or half a man. Knowing the head provisioner of the ship's Rattling auxiliary was far and away the best cook he had access to, the Master of Service approached the little abhuman, Herbo Proudfoot, a Rattling cook from a long line of culinary experts. Yes, Herbo was a mutant, but he was a sanctioned abhuman, not the result of chaos, but environment. The God Emperor forgave the Rattlings the sin of their birth, so long as they served his will and strove for forgiveness. Not to mention, Proudfoot was so skilled, he had been sanctioned to even cook for the humans of this ship. So, Karis was certainly riding high when the captain claimed he had never eaten a finer meal at this table, and his officers agreed. So pleased, in fact, was Captain Ludovico that he wished to pay the chef his compliments personally. So it was with a spring in his step that Karis went to fetch the Rattling cook. Of course, the moment Herbo entered the dining hall, the Master of Service realized his mistake. The looks of horror across the senior staff's faces, telling him all he needed to know. Terrified, Karis explained that Herbo had been sanctioned to feed humans. He was informed that was for basic troops, and maybe lower officers. Not the captain, not his senior staff. They could not risk contamination from an abhuman. With a fairly condescending show of regret, the captain executed Karis on the spot, and had a brand of penitence burned into Herbo's forehead, so all could see the abhuman would spend the rest of his days atoning for the sin of serving an excellent meal to his betters. Big spoilers for the Wraithbone Phoenix ahead. If you haven't read it or listened to it, I actually think it might only be an audiobook. I highly recommend it. So the Wraithbone Phoenix, but if you don't care about that, please continue. So old Herbo puts the proud in Proudfoot. He doesn't take this lying down. When the Eldar launch a raid to get their artifact, the Wraithbone Phoenix, back, Herbo steals it, proceeds to fake his own death, and leaves a spiteful note informing the captain he will never get the artifact back. But that's just phase 1 of Herbo's plan. From here he hides in the vents and the pipes of the ship, slowly biding his time for weeks or months as everyone thinks he's dead. Gathering his resources, he poisons Captain Augustus with a brutally potent hallucinogenic. A hallucinogenic that drove Ludovico quite mad, becoming convinced that he now had a Rattling living inside his skin, mutating him, gnawing away at his flesh. It caused him to fail quite utterly in his duties as captain of a warship. So much so, in fact, that Augustus was responsible for the destruction of a vessel the Sunstriker was supposed to be escorting, and during a skirmish that should have only resulted in superficial damage, no less. 25,000 loyal Imperial souls sent screaming into the void, so Herbo could have revenge on one man. But have it he did. Ashamed, distraught, horrified, tripping out, Captain Ludovico retreated to one of the ship's many chapels, tearfully begging forgiveness at the foot of a saint's shrine. Captain Augustus Ludovico ate the barrel of his las pistol. Unbeknownst to him, making him the star feature in little Herbo's first and only snuff film, as the Ratling had been watching from the ventilation system, recording the captain's last moments. Herbo Proudfoot would never leave the Sunstriker, eking out a short existence amongst the many machines and disposal units of the ship. But he got his revenge. What do you guys think? Was it worth it?